Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Truth Paranormal. Today we're going to be taking a very close look at Sasquatch and Bigfoot, two names that we've given a big hairy-like ape who lives in all continents apart from Antarctica on the Earth. So he's been seen over the centuries in Australia, Africa, Europe, Asia, North America, South America. He is, or she is, or it is a phenomenon, okay? A bit like UFOs in the sense that most images and videos are blurred and shaky, and you know that you've only got to go by eyewitnesses. But I've got news for you. It's real. But what really is it? Because it's not an animal. And so I'm going to be taking a deep dive today in finding out exactly what it is. Okay, let's go. So you're probably familiar with images like this, where you've got sort of Bigfoot in the sort of medium distance. The image is quite blurred. In your mind, you can't rule out somebody in a suit, although I don't think it is, just given the sheer number of sightings by very genuine people in areas where there's a very slim possibility of a hoax. They're just waiting, could be waiting for weeks for somebody to walk by. So really, very interesting stuff. But why do I think it's not an animal? Well, we're going to get on to some of the characteristics of these beasts, this phenomena, okay? And I'm going to show you another video which is going to sort of break it down. Now, I'm going to have to introduce you to a couple of people that I've found very useful when putting this video together, okay? They don't know they've helped me, but they have. So first of all, big shout out to the Cabin in the Woods YouTube channel. If you're interested in a Sasquatch and Bigfoot, if you haven't already subscribed, click on the QR code here, go and have a look at the channel, subscribe, and you'll find that channel is just dedicated to Bigfoot and Sasquatch. The other person is, have I got his name? Todd. His name has disappeared. I'll put it in the subtitles. Todd is a dedicated wildlife photographer, and he's been out sort of gathering information for Sasquatch over many years. And some of the footage you see here is his footage. Okay, and he's a good, honest guy. He's just taking videos of what he sees. Okay.
He's an elder.
So this is Todd's voice.
And the evidence to substantiate this footage is real is absolutely incredible. Because the eye spacing is non-human. And when you look at this, if it's non-human eye spacing, you clearly can see nasal moving.
There's his face.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly the blinking eyes, the wet eyes. It
looks human.
It does, but the spacing between the eyes are not human. And if you saw that in real life, you'd realize the head is, 15 inches across. This is Jake.
Right, so I've just paused it there. Notice how the first one had a very smooth, unhairy, black forehead. Okay, no hairs, just a whole big forehead of black, leathery skin. Okay, now if you compare that one with this other Bigfoot, you'll see that there's no forehead other than just what is covered with fur. And we're going to be looking very carefully at how this one blinks. Okay.
So a Sasquatch I had incredible live interactions with. He was actually a friend of mine. I considered him a good teacher of mine. You can see him blinking, and he's gone now. I haven't seen him in many years, which has been very upsetting to me.
Think he died?
No, I think he was a dominant yuck again. This is just I focused on the eye blink there, so I turned up the exposure, and all my stuff is documentary style. So I can turn up saturation like I do in this one. Saturation.
Well, I'm going to pause it there. Now, if you look at somebody blinking, whether it's any animal or whether it's your dog, your cat, yourself, when you blink, there's some movement in the bottom eyelid, even if it's so slightly. This Bigfoot is blinking all from the top. It looks sort of like an animatronic, like if it's sort of driven by hydraulics. I don't think it is. It's not something from a Disney theme park. It's not man-made, but I just want you to bear in mind how odd the blinking looks. I'll just carry on playing it.
Gets turned up, but just so you can clearly see, that individual. And again, eye spacing is non-human, and I proved that head. Oh my God, but my head is 7 inches across. That head is like 16 inches across.
I'll slide it right down here for you to have a really close look at how this thing blinks. Okay. Not an animal. This is an animal. Look how it blinks. Its bottom eyelids move as well. Right, so we're talking about something that's not an animal. So what could it be? Could it be a man-made puppet? Unlikely, because a man-made puppet couldn't necessarily traverse a forest. It could maybe work if it was rooted to the ground, powered by some laptop next to it, but it doesn't seem like this. I'm sure Todd would have discovered that these things were rooted to the ground as he got nearer and nearer to them. So I think we can rule out something that's man-made. Going back to episode 1 and 2, we've already looked into how things like UFOs and ghosts appear to have this amazing ability to change shape, texture, to form any kind of three-dimensional object, sometimes in quite a convincing way. So this was spotted hovering over some trees. Okay, this is a real object, but it doesn't look strange. I'm hypothesizing that it's actually a fifth-dimensional object. This is another one, not a real girl. Clearly, girls can't walk through metal bars. This is another, what I propose to be a fifth-dimensional object protruding into our three-dimensional world. But look how convincing it looks. It looks like a girl from a distance. If you got really close, you might find the facial features aren't quite right, something a bit uncanny about her. But nonetheless, that is what a fifth-dimensional object in our world can look like.
Call her Jane.
Right, so we're back. I'm just going to pause it again. We're back now with Sasquatch. And again, look at how different this Bigfoot is, okay? Supposedly a female. But again, very, very different.
That's the daughter of Seeger. And my colleague Ashley has incredible success with her. It was amazing to me. My native teacher, I initially thought this was just a male Sasquatch. My native teacher, here she is from a different angle, looked at that and said, wow, you filmed a female. Years later, I saw breasts on her, and I've seen her around, and I gauge what female Sasquatch do based on her tracks, which are the same size as the Patterson footage, and her interactions and the way she shows herself. She'll walk around a puddle, a male will blast through it. She'll make gentle, beautiful tree breaks that are precise, and a male is rugged and harsh and wants a big, giant, like egotistic.
Why don't they run away from you?
Right here, she's looking down at me. She's the last line of defense for me going into a position where I was going to get more footage.
Why did they let you get so close?
She didn't. I was moving in a ghillie suit, and I come see that there's snow there. I came in, I had success because it was a snowstorm so bad, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. So I got into the snowstorm. After the snowstorm, this is the day after, they came back down the mountain.
And where is this located?
This is close to Radium, British Columbia. And all this is jammed. So you can see everywhere there's snow. And now
I'm just going to pause it again. It's really strange how they move as well. They're not moving with breathing. There's no sign of any of these three Bigfoot breathing. They're not like breathing in and out. There's no steam or moisture coming from their mouth, which may not occur because he's saying it's 15 degrees when this was taken. But it's their movement is also uncanny. It's you'd have to compare and contrast it with how a gorilla would sit looking at you through some trees. But something's not right about it in terms of it's not an animal. Okay, I can't play.
What's happening too is it's gone up way above. It was in the fall, so we had a -10 day with a snowstorm. Next day it's like +15. So all the snow is melting like crazy, which creates sound and makes me better to be stealthy.
Right, I'm going to pause it there. So again, there's three Bigfoot he's saying one's male, one's adolescence, one female, but they are clearly completely different creatures. If they were creatures, that you look at any other creature in the animal kingdom, and the male and female in most primates look really, really similar. Okay, one might be slightly smaller than the other. From a very superficial level, they look the same. These three look completely different. Okay. So again, it's very hard to believe that this is an animal. In the infrared, they don't produce any heat. There's no baby Bigfoot ever been seen. And yeah, it's just really, really strange how anyone could convince themselves that this is an animal. Now, after he shot this, a male Bigfoot popped out sort of close behind him and shook him out of his ghillie suit. Okay, unfortunately, no video of that. But we already know from episodes 1 and 2 that ghosts, which are driven by protrusions from the fifth dimension, are physically able, and we've got videos of people being pulled to the ground by a ghost and then dragged down a corridor with the ghost holding onto their feet and being dragged down the corridor. So we know that ghosts can do exactly the same things as these Sasquatch do. Okay, right. So I'm going to now just talk about some facts. Okay, now I'm going to just bring up a little. So on the screen now, you can see that I'm going to talk about the characteristics of orb technology. Okay, now if you've not watched episodes 1 and 2, the orb technology is really a manifestation of a fifth dimensional construct coming into our three-dimensional world. It is operated and steered and controlled by an earthbound alien AI system. Okay, these are AI powered, as it were, so they are capable of appearing to be intelligent. They are responsive, they can be proactive, and these are the things that we often see as being UFOs or ghosts, and etc. But those orb technology has a certain number of characteristics that we've explored in episodes 1 and 2. So they're able to morph into any shape, texture, or color. They're able to change volume and size. Materials not fundamentally different to our own, so they're not able to come up with new elements or new materials. The physics is the same as our universe. It is our universe. It's all happening within our universe. But the way that materials can be put together can be radically different, and the makeup of it can be different as well. They can appear to move through walls and rock. They can't actually, but they can disappear at the interface between something solid and reappear at the other end to give you the look of it going through. It can change the local speed of time, just saying the orbs can. Does not fall to the ground if damaged, can emit sound, can pick up and throw objects, is able to operate and emit no heat, which is something else we see from a lot of UFOs and ghosts. And the aim of the what we call the Type 3 orb, which is the one that sits in people's houses and basically can be found at ground level. Again, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, watch episodes 1 and 2. And their purpose is to scare people away from key locations in the building when microwave broadcasts are taking place. These microwave broadcasts are part of an earthbound global communication system that the AI system uses. Its job is to protect the Earth from real extraterrestrials. Now, if we look at the next slide, characteristics of Bigfoot and Sasquatch, visually and infrared. These are things being caught, by camera over many years. No dead bodies or offspring have ever been found. No operational degradation when shot. So people, when they shoot them, the Sasquatch goes about its business seemingly uninjured, so he doesn't drop dead or fall down. They can just appear and disappear, not often directly in front of the person's eyes, although it has happened a couple of times. But if you chase them into a corner of the woods where there's no escape, they are just gone. Okay. They can and do break trees and objects, and they can throw physical objects, something that the person behind Cabin in the Woods had personal experience of. They can make a noise. They can make, in theory, any noise, but they often make grunting noises, growling noises, that sort of thing. They can choose to emit heat or not. The idea is that the Sasquatch, Bigfoot aren't a real animal. There's no biologics happening within that body. If you were to cut it up, you might find possibly organs, but they're not functioning as such. There's no need for it because it is steered and operated from the fifth dimension. Any energy output can be outputted in the fifth dimension and not our dimension, so we don't get to see any energy going into it. Again, watch episode 2 if you need to understand a bit more about that. It's called fifth dimensional steerage. So there's no need for it to emit heat, but equally, if it wants to, I don't know, mimic something hot, it is able to channel some of that heat into the third dimension. It can mimic human form. Obviously, it generally is 2 arms, 2 legs, with a head, 2 eyes. It does that to mimic what I suspect are real apes and primates over the millions of years on this planet. So they're just trying to appear to be a great ape. And they can, to a limited extent, do emotion expressions, etc. It is often, the Bigfoot and Sasquatch are often seen with orbs nearby, very common in fact, are spotted in many global locations, just like UFOs and ghosts are, and their chief aim is to scare people away from geographical locations where we suspect the biological component of this alien AI resides. So these are real flesh and blood aliens which have lived on Earth for maybe millions of years. They hide underground in caves and caverns, but they're underground in these particular geological locations. Okay, the AI and certainly the aliens themselves would like to keep humans away as much as possible. So that's the slide. Let's look at some other videos. So this is Bigfoot, and you can see an orb just appearing just where it was. I'll put a circle around it.
Let's move over to let's go to screen right here. You see this here? It's almost perfect circle. It's closer to the camera. I can tell you that. Of course, you guys are looking at a 2-dimensional image here, but I know the area, right? And that black orb is closer to the camera than the subject that I just circled. Transparent, you can kind of see through it. There's a couple of things back there, and you can see them between the branches of the trees. But this is what something out of these 3 that I'm sharing with you set the camera off, triggered the camera to turn on. This is all I got.
Right, we're going to pause it there. So, right, so what's an interesting story about that guy was his wildlife camera had a memory card in it. He had loads of footage from previous times, photos and I believe some videos as well. And he thinks that the camera had been out there for some time. He seems to think that it would have taken a lot more than that footage there. But when he came and collected it, only 1 file remained. The rest had been deleted, even ones that had been there before. So the way to prove, not prove, but the way to strengthen my hypothesis is if you did the same thing again, but this time you had a memory card, another memory card next to it that was encased in resin or something that meant it couldn't be actually physically got to. And then you would see if any files had been deleted off that as well. Because if the fifth dimension, physical barrier is no barrier to it. It can, the way that dimensions work, it's just completely open. So you don't, it can get past or through any physical barrier. So it'd still be able to delete files, even with the memory card encased in resin. So that would be an experiment in the future. If anyone is watching this and they do a wildlife thing and they've had experience of files being deleted, try putting another memory card next to it or as close to it as you can in case it's resin, and then see if any files are deleted. Obviously, when you come to check it, you're going to need to take it out of the encasement. But it's to prove a point that if something is kept inside something that is easily it's very visible if it's being broken into. If the resin's being cracked and splintered, then okay, somebody might have physically got in there. But only a fifth dimensional object can delete files within a system if it's completely physically sealed. Okay, right. So we're just going back to a little ghost thing I had in episode 1, where in this it's a part of an office garage complex. You can see this black mass forming in front of your eyes. And, a lot of people would call this to be a shadow person or whatever. So I'm just reminding you of what, the fifth dimensional type 3 orbs in the fifth dimension are capable of. This is another one, just a hovering silver ball, completely hovering. And again, it's round because that's the least amount of processing that's required from the AI. Round is the simplest geometrical shape.
Okay, guys, I'm getting out of here.
Right, so that was just a little clip. That's the guy on the cabin in the woods. That was his experience. So he noticed that when a Sasquatch growled, there's this little flash of red light. Now, there's nothing in the animal world that would cause something to flash red when it growled, okay? It's synonymous, okay, with a wider system in play. So if an AI, fifth dimensional AI is creating that, it may decide to do something else other than make a noise. It may just require an orb to pop into existence. I don't know. But a red flashlight along with sound is not your typical animal characteristic. Okay. Just going to play a video of this orb. So lots of orbs seen with Sasquatch and Bigfoot. Very, very common. This one here is just coming to our dimension from the fifth dimension, and you can see how it sort of scintillates and appears. This bright orb here is going to the trees.
2 different separate glowing lights. Got another thing too. A pair of glowing eyes shimmering in the woods. And she swears it wasn't reflected. These were self-illuminating eyes.
Right, so I'm going to pause it there. Animals don't emit light from their eyes. Okay, that's not normal. It would be counterintuitive. Your eyes are there to absorb light. So while your eyes emit light, if you're trying to see, especially in the dark, you might be thinking, oh, well, there's bioluminescence. Bioluminescence is used, I think, exclusively under the sea, in the sea. And that is either used to attract prey or it's used to scare prey away. So that's usually how it's worked. It's not seen, it's not used as a way of necessarily projecting light onto something. I'm just going to carry on playing this. So this is I can only best describe this as being somebody's interpretation of something emerging from thin air along this footpath. Now, I love the way he's actually walking backwards steadily, as most of us would do. You're trying to figure out what it is, but also you're backing away from the situation because you don't know what's coming next, sort of thing. Now, this video is very, very grainy. I've tried to do my best to make it less grainy, but there's only so much you can do. And so this is not convincing proof by any stretch of the imagination, but I included it because it could be the sort of thing that you might get to see one day in your life as you're walking in the woods and you see this thing and you think, oh no, it's just me imagining it. Well, it might not be. It might be a real thing coming through from the fifth dimension, and for some reason it hasn't quite made it. Maybe the processing task of it coming through has been overwhelmed by another priority elsewhere in the system, so it's kind of just paused it. So you just don't know what's going on. But interesting that your eyes can sometimes pick up something that doesn't look real. It's interesting, there's no running commentary with this. I'd love to hear the cameraman sort of saying, I don't know, I don't understand what I'm seeing. Can anyone see this? Or what do you think of this? Just, although there's audio here, there's no commentary, which I find odd. Right, so I'll get on to the final clip. Now this, I'm going to pause it here, this is supposedly a sample of hair from a Sasquatch Bigfoot. Now notice the colour straight away. Okay, so we've got a black Bigfoot with a leathery, skinny forehead. We have a black Bigfoot with no exposed forehead, just hair down to the eyes, completely hairy face. Then we've got another female Bigfoot, which is completely different again. And now this colour of hair doesn't seem to match any of them. So maybe it's come from another type of Bigfoot, which strains credibility of this being one animal, one species of animal. But this hair also has a very high degree of significance, because this hair, if my hypothesis is correct, is actually hair from the 5th dimension. Okay, now you might be thinking, well, it looks like normal hair. Of course it looks like normal hair, because we're only seeing it in the 3rd dimension. It just looks normal. The alien AI and the 5th dimension, when it protrudes into our dimension, looks as real as anything else. It is real in our dimension. But because it's been created by alien AI, there could be just small little flaws and mistakes in this. Alien AI is no different to our own AI, in the sense it only has a finite number of resources, it has to prioritize jobs. Don't forget, it's running jobs all around the world simultaneously. If, when creating this 5th dimensional object, when it comes through to our three-dimensional reality, it could have mistakes. Okay, now when they test this for DNA, lots of strange things turn up. It's like half human, half mystery. But again, whoever has samples of these need to retest them with the mindset of, if this is generated by AI, what sort of small little details could it have missed or got wrong? Okay, and this is now in the realm of a geneticist, and ask yourself, if this was being created by AI, what could it get wrong? Or what's the sort of thing you'd expect to see? Okay, now I'm no geneticist, I'll leave that to the experts. But what you're looking at there is a real piece of 5th dimensional, an object protruding into our universe. In common with orbs that fall into the ground that people keep as ornaments and stuff on their verandas and stuff, because this is still part of a bigger object, you'll find that its weight could vary quite a lot. So its weight from first being found to now could have varied by a factor of 3 or 4, which is not insignificant. Okay, other things might have changed as well. The actual volume or size of the hair sample might have changed as well. So these are all things to bear in mind. If you're lucky enough to have a little clump of Sasquatch hair, now you can look at it in a very different light. This is something truly out of our dimension. And has it changed weight or shape or volume since you've owned it? Right, so I'll play this video. It's a very short video, but it is, considered to be genuine Sasquatch hair. And I believe there's quite a few, samples knocking around as well. And anything else that the Sasquatch is left behind, not that it would probably leave behind anything else, because it's not actually an animal. But if it did leave anything behind, then again, that would be should be tested with that 5th dimensional origin in mind. Now, thanks so much for watching this. I know that for the skeptics of you, I've probably lost you in the first minute of this video, because it's hard enough to believe that Sasquatch exists, let alone that it's not an animal. And it's difficult to get your mind around the 5th dimension, because even our best scientists can't yet find an example of the 5th dimension. Our mathematics talks about it. We know that in theory it exists, another spatial dimension, but as yet we have not figured out how to achieve that same outcome. Now, I want to very briefly talk about The next episode, episode 4, this is going to be a real eye-opener for people interested in security and accessibility, because the fifth dimension actually has a massive trick up its sleeve, okay? Because it sees effectively everything in the third dimension as being just one flat plane of information. It can get past most types of physical security, so it can just appear in the middle of a locked vault. It can access data that is physically kept separate from, say, the internet. With such a powerful AI in control, it's probably fair to say that no encryption methodology is safe from it. It doesn't have unlimited resources. It would have to pick and choose what systems to hack. And in fact, our own nascent AI system is very vulnerable to the earthbound alien created AI in somehow have an influence of how our AI works. In particular, when we ask it our own AI, does this thing exist or not? You might find that our own AI is reprogrammed to always say, no, of course it doesn't. So that's something to bear in mind. But the proof that this fifth dimensional AI can penetrate our computer systems and our files is very evident. Lots of proof for that. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in episode 4, why alien AI could be much closer to you than you think. Okay, thanks so much for listening, and